Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 5th edition of Sports on Sunset. I'm James Jericho.
I'm Jeremy Paul.
And I'm feeling very awkward right now. Welcome. We're going to wind up talking boxing today, and here's the reason why. As some of you may have noticed, Floyd Mayweather, Money Mayweather, was released from jail last week. He was 2 months into a 3-month sentence. He took a plea deal. Misdemeanor domestic battery case. What he was involved with was a case where there was hair pulling and arm twisting of a baby mama, if you will. He took a plea because they would have charged him with felonies, and had he been convicted, it would have been 34 years had he been convicted. And when you consider the fact that Forbes magazine named him the highest paid athlete of 2011, and all the other things that went on look, that's a lot of money to give away for a couple of bologna sandwiches and isolated confinement. So he was let out of jail, leaves the Clark County Rehabilitation Center, climbs into a Bentley with 50 Cent, drives away. The weird thing, having covered boxing, and my friend here did box as well, the weird thing about boxing to us, or at least to me, is considering it's supposedly this savage sport, traditionally boxers have been very congenial to each other after a fight. There's something I think almost within our code as guys, it seems. Even as if you and I didn't know each other and we got into a fist fight, for whatever reason, guys, for whatever reason, seem to be friends afterwards. But I'm noticing that that's not really happening now. Successful boxers are looking for trouble.
Yeah, in essence, yes.
And I'm kind of wondering why that is. I don't think it's racial, because back in the day, there were plenty of black boxers or Latino boxers. And of course, yeah, white boxers. And when they so-called made it, even if they fought somebody, at the end of every fight, there's a hug, well done, blah, 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 blah.
Set point.
Yeah. Why do you think that is now?
I think what's happening is that people are so into the money that they forget that this is a sport. That people are getting paid $10 million to lose a fight. Whereas back in the day, you had to keep, like, people were out to hurt each other, but they weren't out to kill each other.
Okay.
So back then, people fought, even back in the bare knuckle days, they would fight each other, but at the end of the day, you realize this guy has to feed his family. He's not trying to kill you in the ring, he's just trying to feed the family. On a $5,000 check, which is going to end up going to the mafia and your agent and the promoter, and then you take home $500. So that's how it used to be. Now people are getting paid tens of millions of dollars to, come in second because they forgot to take the steroids.
I'm not sure necessarily. I want to kick the tires on your thesis a little bit here. We're talking about the money changing things. There's a lot of money in a variety of sports that we believe are violent. But NFL players get arrested, boxers get thrown in jail. What's the difference?
Boxers are looked upon as violent creatures.
So are football players.
No, not so much. Not like boxers.
Okay.
Boxers, in some instances, have to register their fists as lethal weapons. Not kidding.
Did you have to register your fist?
I did.
Okay.
This is what happens. You don't see football players being registered as lethal weapons at all. There might be one or two football players that can actually box. One or two. Didn't Rod Woodson try boxing or something like that? Didn't he go in boxing?
A lot of football players dabbled in it. Mark Gastineau, for example, dabbled in it.
But he won't be successful at it.
Right.
Because he's not a trained boxer.
I understand.
Trained boxers are dangerous people by trade. They're trained to hit you, to knock you out.
What were the years of you boxing?
13 until
not
16.
Okay, so you were trying for like Golden Gloves and shit like that. Yeah. How often? Look, before the fight, there's all kinds of smack going on. You're fill in sexual preference here. I'm gonna I'm gonna have sex with your mom. I'm gonna eat your children. I'm not. Yeah, exactly. but again, at the end of the fight, it's always like, hey man, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
How often did you actually genuinely hate the fighter beforehand, but after the fight we're like, yeah, all right.
I guess this is where I'm different. I lost my first fight.
Okay.
I liked the guy before the fight. Seemed nice enough. After the fight, after I lost by a split decision judges, you suck. After I lost the fight, I immediately garnered our hatred for this dude. I didn't want to see him or talk to him. Like, I still want to fight him now. If I ever meet this dude, I'll fight you. We can fight. Chris Anderson, we can fight.
You mean the reserve for the Denver Nuggets?
No, not the 7-foot dude that played for. No, he's a boxer out of Lake Zurich, Illinois. No, was it Lake Zurich or one of them fucking northern Chicago suburbs? Look, if you're watching this, you know where to meet me. River City Athletic Club. It doesn't exist anymore, but still, we can fight, man. Fight in your backyard, anywhere. I'll fight you, and I'll win.
We want to establish a little bit of a case study here. It's not that boxers back in the day never went to jail. For example, there was Reuben Hurricane Carter, but of course his conviction was overturned.
Took 20-something years, but yeah.
Yeah, and of course we all love Bernard Hopkins, but Bernard Hopkins served time, and then with the discipline that goes with being a professional fighter, he became hardcore disciplined. Hasn't been in jail since.
Well, wasn't he in jail before he started boxing?
That's what I'm saying. He was given an 18-year sentence for strong arm robbery.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he was nobody to mess with back then. However,
Forget about Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, but that was political conscientious.
Still jail.
Yeah, I know.
Mike Tyson, jail.
Well, that's where I was going about to go. Is it possible, culturally, not racially, but culturally, things change not because of the Tyson rape conviction, okay, but because of biting the ear off of Holyfield? And the reason I say this, and I'm just spitballing here, if you're not going to show respect for your opponent before, during, or after the fight, why should you show respect to anybody?
Well, if you're looking at it that way, I want to always mix these two up. Boom Boom Mancini killed a guy, right? Was it Boom Boom?
In the ring, yes. But he did not take any joy from that.
Yeah, but isn't that dangerous enough? Mike Tyson didn't take joy out of biting Holyfield's ear. He was quite pissed about it. Mainly because, Holyfield was headbutting him because he was losing the fight in the first place. I believe Tyson was winning the fight.
Is it possible? I don't think he was winning that particular fight.
Because of the headbutts? Yeah.
But if you look post-Tyson, post-Tyson fight, if you're, again, the thesis being if you're not showing respect to your opponent, who do you show respect to? Trevor Berbick is served 5 years, Riddick Bowe 18 months. Tommy Morrison, again, not racial lines. Tommy Morrison's white, 10 years. We have other fighters, Martin Tucker, a couple guys were released without being charged for fighting post-fight. A guy named Max Tassi. Here's a thesis, again, to kick the tires. If you were a successful boxer in the 50s, 60s, and so on, when you became successful, you had handlers.
Yeah.
And they may have been mobsters, but they knew how to be your friend and make sure everything was cool and you were always in the nice suit. Now your handlers are 50 Cent.
Well, here's the thing with that. Your handler is 50 Cent, you get to keep your money. All those boxers that had handlers back then are broke. Joe Louis, broke, died broke, on the government. There's a shit ton of boxers that ended up dying broke because they had so many handlers that were taking 30, 40%.
You do realize the argument that you're saying is that I either have handlers who keep me fed and keep me well dressed until I die, but they're mobsters who are going to take everything when I die, or on my way to death.
Joe Louis.
Or I'm going to be risking myself with jail for people who are going to take some of my money, but not all.
I would rather people take some of my money and not all. Leave me with my money.
And your freedom.
Yes.
Is there anything then overall that I might be missing then with regards to why we're seeing? Look, Floyd Mayweather Jr. should have never ever seen the inside of a jail cell.
Well, no. This goes to...
If he had a brain in his head, and I'm not saying he's a horrible... Well, I mean, okay, you shouldn't be fighting women. But if as long as something kept his mind right that night, that guy has way too much popularity, way too much money, way too many fans. He should have never ever seen the inside of a jail cell because somebody should have said, dude, chill.
Well, if you can't beat him up, how are you going to tell him to chill? Here's the thing. We're talking about boxers.
Right.
People that are trained to hurt people.
Right. But they were trained to hurt people then, and they were able to stay out of jail.
Well, they were able to stay out of jail because they paid people off. There's a million instances, I won't say a million, there's about like 40 to 45 instances of boxers in the past that had things covered up for them. There are boxers that were rumored to have killed people.
Okay.
There's boxers that are rumored...
Like Hurricane Carter. But go ahead.
No, there's... Like, besides Hurricane Carter.
Right.
But there's people that beat up women. These were people that came from the inner city, most of the time, given a shit ton of money, and then turned loose.
So are you saying, well, there's one part that I'm not getting. Are you saying it's more valuable to have money and be in jail for a while, or is it more valuable to have your freedom?
It's actually more valuable to be in jail for a while if you're a boxer. Because you come out and you make more money because people are saying...
We are signing the death knell for boxing right now. You realize that, don't you?
No, here's the thing. When did he make more money, before or after he got out of prison for rape? Mike Tyson.
Oh, well, I think that kind of goes without saying. It would have had to have been after.
Yeah.
Because of the spike in pay-per-views. Even before he was fighting on ESPN.
Before or after he got out of prison, when did he make more money? Muhammad Ali.
But again, part of that's also due to the national economy of inflation and, of course, an expanding media.
Yeah.
So, okay, I can see those two.
No matter what, I guarantee, had Floyd Mayweather done 2 years when he was younger and got out and went on the tear that he's currently on, which is he's still undefeated. Fought Pacquiao. That would have been a $150 million fight.
He could fight Pacquiao this year, but it's doubtful, by the way.
Because Pacquiao needs to get back on the juice.
Pretty much.
So, what I'm saying here is this: we have people trained to hurt people that get into trouble, and it's covered up for them most of the time. Now you can't cover it up because of social media. It's the same with soldiers. Soldiers are trained to hurt people, trained to kill. Then they come back, and there's instances where some soldier loses his goddamn mind and ends up hurting his family. It's the same thing. We have people that are trained for violence being violent.
So unfortunately, even though we like boxing, we probably just put a bullet in it. Brother, why don't you tell them what's on your mind?
Funny enough, what's on my mind is one of freedom.
All right. Dig it.
See, I'm a former athlete. I say former, that ship is safe. I'm no longer an athlete, so I have to say former athlete. One of the perks of being an athlete is being able to do whatever the hell you want and getting away with it. But for some reason, there's always been this one thing that athletes can't get away with nowadays. Actually, throughout time, it's always been exposed no matter what. Strip clubs. Why can't we just go to strip clubs anymore? Nobody keeps their damn mouth shut anymore. Have you ever heard the phrase, "who wants to sex will tumble"? Beforehand, nobody knew that phrase, but apparently, strippers can't keep their goddamn mouth shut in Atlanta. There's people, didn't Andrew Bynum get in trouble like last year for going to strip clubs while he was supposedly injured?
I don't recall, but look, I'm not trying to deny it.
He was blowing $10,000 in a strip club. Pac-Man jumped.
Pac-Man, yeah.
Making it rain. Like, motherfuckers can't keep their mouth shut in strip clubs anymore. Look, what I'm saying here is this, athletes. If you're an athlete and you're trying to enjoy yourself for, up to 2 hours in the champagne room, Do yourself a favor.
Get some discreet hoes.
Exactly. Get women that know how to keep their mouth shut. Get the one that doesn't speak English. You know, you don't always have to go for the fine Puerto Rican. She speaks English. Go for the, one fresh off the boat from India. Get that Indian stripper. There's one that works at Playpen down off of Santa Fe.
And don't worry about this whole thing about a third eye.
Yeah. Look, those cameras are never on. I can tell you from experience. They're never on. The manager walks around. I'm not trying to give y'all tips on how to get away with things in strip clubs. What I'm trying to say is this: if you're an athlete, it's up to you to watch your own ass. You're the millionaire. These are people working for their money. They will sell you out unless you tip correctly. Right? Tip right. Don't make it rain, because that's just one chick, and she will end. The rest of them chicks will be jealous hoes and tell all your business because you didn't tip them the same $10,000. What I'm saying is, watch your money, watch your back. I support bipolar will.
Guys, as some of you know, I'm an LA Kings fan, and I was overjoyed that they won the Stanley Cup this year. I wasted my money last week on the DVD that celebrated their Stanley Cup. See, normally I don't buy these things because my teams have been known to win more often than not. It was the first time for the LA Kings. But they had extras, and one of the extras...
They had extras!
Here, you're going to want to hear this. One of the extras that they had was a profile on the guy. You've probably seen him in commercials. He watches the Stanley Cup. He takes it with him wherever he goes. And originally I was sitting there, because he never says anything, okay? And I'm sitting there thinking, God, this is the guy who guards the trophy for one of the most macho sports out there. And he looks like Bobby the Brain Heenan. So I would guess if somebody tried to steal the cup, he'd be like... And like everybody from the 1980s WWF would come out and form like a field of roids and spit and testosterone to protect it. That's not the case. They did his vignette during Game 6, starting with him in the hotel with the cup while the game is going on. There's a fine line between being a dedicated professional and looking like you want to have sex in the Stanley Cup. It went a little something like this. Oh, hi. Hi, why don't you come on in? Yes, I'm just polishing the cup. I'm just polishing it. We're about, the game's already on. We're about to go to the game. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Yes, we're on our way to the forum. There were so many memories at the forum. Sometimes I just like to buff it over and over just to make sure. There were so many memories at the forum. Maybe we'll have one tonight at the Staples Center.
You had a list?
The Kings. Oh my God, the Kings are winning. I might have to hand this over. Just one last shine. Just one last shine. What I'm trying to say is I haven't been this creeped out since this guy took me to Adult Con. And what I'm also trying to say is, if you're going to have to be guarding the most valuable trophy in sports, do me a favor. Get somebody who kind of matches the machismo level of the athletes to guard it. I don't need this. I just don't. I just look. Sometimes I just like to see my face in it. I feel good.
I don't.
You haven't been this shiny in weeks, brother. I'm James Jericho. Yeah.